Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, another video. If you are new here, I'm Jen, and today, I don't know, I want to talk about something that's been weighing on me a little bit lately. And if you don't know, it's been 2 years since I started my Mounjaro weight loss journey. I'm going to put a before photo up. I don't do this that often. I should do this a little bit more on the screen. I've lost over 90 pounds, which is amazing. I know that. But I feel like lately I've been feeling something that I never really expected. I'm feeling tired, tired of the journey. And I've had every intention of this video going in a completely different direction. And I still want to do a 2-year recap of everything I've learned over the past 2 years on my Mounjaro weight loss journey. But my heart was just not in the right place to make that type of video this week. Because, 1 week I'm all in and the next I'm kind of over it. And it's not even like I'm forcing myself to, eat things that I hate, or I'm pushing myself too much in the gym. It's actually quite, I think, the opposite. I'm loving my meals. I'm, the ones that I'm planning and eating, and I have a great strength training routine. My walking pad, because I can get my steps in while working. I'm loving my walking pad. But really, when you first start, everything can feel fresh and exciting. And I think that progress was motivating, and each of the milestones pushed me to keep going. But now, after losing 90 pounds, I'm realizing how draining this journey has become. I'm not complaining. Please don't think I'm complaining. But I think the constant effort, the never-ending discipline, the ups and downs, it's taken a toll on me. And it's hard to admit, but I've been feeling exhausted, which I think, is combining with the fatigue of from taking compounded Tirzepatide that I take weekly. I'm on 7.5. I'm going to drop down to 5. But it wasn't until I was talking to my doctor 2 weeks ago, and she said 2 years. That's a long time to have that sole focus on that number on the scale. And I don't know why my other doctors haven't said that to me before. Because the longest I've ever taken in the past to lose weight was 3 or 4 months. But once again, I was doing extreme dieting, crash dieting. And of course, it didn't take me that long to hit my goal weight by doing that. But then eventually I'd gain it all back. So obviously that wasn't the best method to do. But I feel like some of you can relate, especially if you've been on a long weight loss journey like I have for 2 years, that it really is not all sunshine and rainbows, that you may see people constantly putting out the positives. While we know, losing weight is a huge accomplishment, but it is mentally and emotionally draining. And I think the constant focus on what are you eating, how much you're moving, whether you're seeing progress, it can be overwhelming 2 years in. So why am I feeling this way? Well, I think there's a couple reasons. I think first off, when you lose a significant amount of weight, your body does go through a ton of changes. Physically, it is a lot of work. Mentally, I think it's even harder. And there's this constant pressure to, keep pushing yourself, keep reaching for whatever that next goal is or that next challenge. And that pressure over time can really, I think, wear you down. And another thing is that after losing 90 pounds, I've noticed that, the results aren't as dramatic as they were in the beginning. That yes, weight loss slows down, but I know that, and I know progress becomes more gradual. And even though I know that's normal, it can be disheartening when it happens. You're still working hard, but you feel like you're not seeing, I think, that same level of reward. I've known for, quite some time, I needed to establish long and short-term goals and just find ways to chip away at them. But it wasn't until I think last week did I realize that I set out to lose 100 pounds, but I made that number. I didn't really consult with my doctors if that was really realistic for me. And even though I was focused on, preserving muscle, or even I was trying to put on muscle, which is extremely hard to do when you're in a caloric deficit for so long. But I had this vision. I wanted to be skinny. I wanted to be skinny in my 30s. And the funny thing is I weigh less now than I did in that time period, but I was a lot more toned back then. And I am fully aware of the difference between 30-year-old me and 45-year-old me. But I said that I wanted to be healthy. I said I didn't want to lose muscle, but I kept saying I want to be skinny. But what does that even mean, or what does that even look like for me? It's such an unrealistic goal to say I want to be skinny. Nor did I think that really should now be that end goal. And also on top of all that, the emotional side of things, like weight loss isn't just about, the physical changes. It's the mental and emotional growth as well. And I've had to change, my relationship with food, my relationship with my body, and even with myself. And it's been a lot, I think, of self-reflection, which honestly is tiring. I'm not a big self-reflection person for that very reason, but I have been the past 2 years. And I felt like I started to feel a little burnt out, which I didn't realize until the past 2 weeks. But when you've come so far, but you just can't seem to keep that energy up anymore, like that's a little concerning. And for me, I wanted to take a step back, which I really did last week. I've been pushing myself, I feel like really hard for the past 2 years. And I think I've lost sight of, why I started in the first place. I feel like I need to reconnect with motivation, whether that's, reminding myself of how far I've come, celebrating the wins, or just taking a break to recharge. I'm also planning to finally shift my focus just a little bit. Like instead of constantly chasing the number on the scale, which I think is fine to do in the beginning, I want to focus a little bit more on how I feel, how my body is functioning, and just how I'm mentally doing. For me, health should be about more than just what do you weigh. I think there needs to be a balance. And right now I think I need to find, a little bit of balance in my life. And when I said I needed, I feel like I always like to have a goal or something to motivate me. And I think I found that very thing is that I really want to focus on decreasing my body fat percentage, which I think will help me shift from constant changes of, say, like the ups and downs of weight each week, and more into a space where, changes won't be seen every week. More realistically, it might be like every month, every couple weeks. And I think, this should have been a focus of mine from day one, but we always gravitate towards pounds lost. And I even said, a couple times, I've lost 90 pounds in this video. Like it's in my intros to a lot of my videos. It's the norm, I think, in our world that we define success by how much you lose. And I know a lot of people in the videos do not say, I've lost 19% body fat, or I started at this body fat percentage and I'm at this. And, the more I'm talking to, specialists, the more they say this is so much more important than that number on the scale. And I want to make that shift now so that, that's something I want to start working on. And I've said I've wanted to do this in the past couple months, but I think in some ways, it's a step away from my comfort zone. I think because we're all so programmed to seek success or failure with that number on the scale. And really, it's the very reason we can use GLP-1s for weight loss. And it's through that flawed BMI scale. And I recently heard that, this isn't groundbreaking, but, maintaining weight loss, with or without the meds, you have to really focus on your body fat percentage and how much muscle. The more muscle you have on your frame, or really the right amount of muscle for you, the greater success you have at, possibly stopping these medications, or, if you're not on them, just maintaining, your weight loss. And just, I want to get into that ideal body fat range for me. Now, that is based on my pillars of what caused me to struggle with weight for a good portion of my life. And that may not be in your wheelhouse, which more power to you and your journey. But because I think what was so eye-opening for me is that I decided I wanted the HUME Health Body Pod. And I'm going to explain that more in another video, the why I wanted that. But I wanted something comparable to the in-body scans that I would get at the gym, but more in the comfort of my home. And I can use whenever I want them, not every month or every other month. The Renpho scale is great. It's great for weight tracking, but when I was matching it up against my in-body scans as late, those numbers were really off. And now that I'm stopping my gym membership next month, I'm gonna lose access to those. I'm moving to my condo gym, just gonna move it in-house. I wanted something a little bit more reliable that uses similar technology as the in-body scans. And I actually weighed myself the other day before I walked to the gym. And then, before I did my workout, I asked to see if I can get my in-body scan. And I really was blown away at how close those results were. And I wanted to see that. It's like I wanted to prove a point, like, oh, you were right. But the Renpho scale was like 10% in some cases, more in some areas. And if I want to track to get a normal range, that's a big percentage difference. Plus, I love the insights so far and the advice that it has provided me. I'm also a tech nerd. Like you could lose 5 pounds, but that could be mainly water and muscle and not really fat. And you want to burn fat. And we know that. But I could sit down and say I've lost 5 pounds and we're like, yay. Sorry, I don't know why I had to do that. But this past week, I was surrounded by my family I haven't seen in months. And, you know, I was on a little bit of break from my journey and I just was eating a little bit more of the foods that I tend to avoid. And I didn't feel any guilt whatsoever. And I mean, I shouldn't. I still didn't feel like I went crazy. But I think not having guilt sometimes for having certain things is new to me. Because in the past, let's just say I would have Chinese food. And as much as I wanted to enjoy it, like I would sit down and I would eat my Chinese food, but the whole time I'm consumed with I shouldn't be eating this. This is why you're overweight. This is why you have high blood pressure. And instead of just enjoying the Chinese food and then just going to the gym the next day and eating normally like I do most of the rest of the week, I still was consumed with those thoughts. And I didn't have that last week. And even though I deviated for those 3 days in New Jersey, I still hit up the gym. I got my leg day in, got my steps in, and I even had a lapse of judgment and I ran a mile. I was walking on the treadmill and I thought, I haven't run in years. Wonder what it is like. What would it feel like running 90 pounds down? And so I tapped up that speed on the treadmill and I don't know, I just had a big smile on my face and I was loving it. Now that's not going to be a regular occurrence for me, but I just love the rush that it gave me at the time. And excuse you. But I didn't feel burnt out by my workout routine. So I kept those up that week as well. But like, even though I was mentally drained, you know, it felt good to break sweat and just, you know, kick it up a notch on the treadmill. But lastly, I'm still going to continue to reach out for support. I think that's a big piece of the puzzle. And you know, I have a great community around me. I have great friends and family, and I even, you know, I'm looking for a therapist as well. But I also, I think it's okay to admit that the process is tough and it's okay to ask for help. And I recently did that when I finally scheduled a session with, you know, the registered dietitian through Mochi Health. And I've learned so much through that conversation. And I just want to remind you all that it's okay to feel tired. It's okay to hit a point where you're not sure how to keep going. I feel like we see so many videos in this space where people talk so positively all the time. And I know that's not the case. It's not reality. And I know that, you know, it is what you want to see. I think you guys want to see all the positives, the perfect weight loss journeys, but we know that that's so unrealistic. It is. And I think the important thing is that, you know, we all just keep moving forward in whatever way that looks like, whether, you know, you need to take a break, make some adjustments, or just find, you know, new things to motivate you. I think that's all part of the journey. But I want to thank you so much for listening to me today. I know this is a little bit of a different or a little bit of a downer video. I'm sorry it took the space of my weekly weight loss updates, but I wanted to get a little bit of this off my chest. But if you're also feeling burnt out, I want you to know you're not alone. Let's just find a way to keep going, keep pushing together. I know that you probably have been through something similar. And you know, if you have some tips, put some tips in the comments below. But don't forget to, you know, hit that subscribe button, you know, hit the notification bell. If you like this video, hit the like button. But, you know, take care of yourself. Remember, this is your journey. A lot of ups and downs, but I will catch you later. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.